Now, I know firsthand, as we all really do, but I know firsthand, that the Ukrainians never intended to implement the Minsk II agreement. Mrs. Merkel said last week that she didn't either. I actually don't believe that, by the way. I think she thinks that's a good thing to say now. I think at the time she wanted to implement it. Maybe not. But in any event, the bad faith was astounding because France and Germany were supposed to be the guarantors of the Minsk II process. The Ukrainians said, no way, we're not doing this. We signed it, but we're not doing it. In the meantime, the United States flooded Ukraine with billions of dollars of weaponry, training, NATO interoperability, and that brought us to 2021. So the war started in 2014 in February with the violent overthrow of a government, which we backed. And we started the war. I mean, we started to massively fund Ukraine, which is why they were able to fight this year, just as Merkel said. She said, yes, 7 years. It was a massive military buildup. And then in 2021, President Putin said to the new president of the United States, Joe Biden, stop the NATO enlargement. This has gone too far. I called the White House at the end of 2021, begging them, avoid the war, stop this. I was told, oh, don't worry about it, NATO's not going to enlarge to Ukraine. I said, great, why don't you say so publicly? Oh, no, we would never say so publicly. I said, well, then you're likely to have a war. Yeah, no, but no, never, Ukraine's never going to be part of NATO. Well, say so publicly and we can avoid a war. And by the way, help the world to understand, if Putin still launches a war, that it's not about NATO. But you know what? It is about NATO. That's been the plan all along. It is, of course, it's about NATO. It's about NATO, it's about Crimea, it's about what Brzezinski wrote in 1997, that the control over Ukraine would render Russia without any power, corner Russia, basically in the back of Eurasia. That's what it's about. So I don't see Europe's wisdom in this, frankly. I just see us having walked into a trap. I see Europe as the big loser of this, by the way. I see Europe as the huge loser of this. I don't know why, when the US blew up the Nordstream pipeline, that we're all silent about it. Why are we silent about it?
What's your proof?
Pardon me?
What is your proof?
That President Biden said on February 7th of this year that if Russia invades, the pipeline is finished. And the reporter looked incredulously, said, Mr. President, that is Russian, German infrastructure. And President Biden says, don't worry, we have our ways.
If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the border of Ukraine again. Then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that? exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
And the U.S. does have its ways. It controls that territory. It monitors that territory. After the pipeline was blown up, our Secretary of State said, and I'm quoting, "This is a tremendous opportunity to wean Europe from Russian energy."
This is also a tremendous opportunity. It's a tremendous opportunity to, once and for all, remove the dependence on Russian energy. And thus,
What a weird statement if you're worried about international piracy of global infrastructure. You would say it's a terrible crime, it's a threat to world peace. You would not call it a tremendous opportunity to wean Europe from Russian energy. This was part of American foreign policy. Now, the Swedes went in to clean up the debris. And what did the Swedes say? We cannot share our findings with Germany because of national security. Can you figure that one out? I can. But it's incredible. How could Sweden not share its findings with Germany and Denmark? But their job was to clean up the debris so that nobody else could investigate either. And they've done that. Now, the press, in this most remarkable act of vandalism on a key piece of international infrastructure, has not said a word in 8 weeks. Why? It's unimportant? Not one reporter is curious? When I spoke to a leading reporter of one of our leading papers, a paper that says every day that Russia did it, most likely, and I said to this leading reporter, whom I've known for 40 years, I think the U.S. did it. He said, of course the U.S. did it. I said, well, why doesn't your paper say so? And he said, well, you know, the editors, we don't really have the proof, but yeah, of course, who else would have done it? That's what he said. And then I showed him, but your paper said today that senior U.S. officials point to Russia as the likely agent of this destruction. Yeah, Jeff, you know, it's hard, it's complicated. I said, when I was young, I used to read your newspaper because you went after Nixon and Watergate and because you published the Pentagon Papers and so forth. He said, yes, but that paper is dead. So I think Europe is in a trap. And the question for Europe, in my opinion, truly, is your job to support American hegemonic aspirations, or is it to protect European security? Because these are not the same thing.